Welcome to part 2 of Sac Taff. I think I'm going to call the heading distrust. All right, so we'll say Sac Taff. Distrust. Unless I change the heading, but I think it probably will be that. So basically, I've shared about how my time in the convent school, Rebecca, that's the character of the book, A Sacrifice of a Lifetime. All right, and how, you know, she's becoming a little bit fed up with the school. She finds the assembly a little bit tedious, and she's got to the point where, you know, she's in the assembly and the year 4, which is the year she's supposed to be in, but because obviously she started to attend the school later on in the year, they put her a year below. So in year 4, they're starting to make fun of her, and, you know, Rebecca's trying to figure out, hang on a minute, I thought it's meant to be a religious school. What they're doing, you know, we're meant to be praying, but they're taking the mickey out of me. But I shared in the last video how recently, and when I say recently, it's probably a couple of years ago, I was in a midnight service for New Year's Eve midnight service in church. And when I go to my midnight services for the new year, I'm like geared up, ready to go. Right, so I had my red dress on. I had my red coat on, but it's sort of got little patches of blue and yellow and what have you. But the main colour is red. And I might have had my red bag. Right, I'm just going for it. So sometimes this can be too much for people. Yeah, it's like, hang on a minute, you know, it's either oh, it looks great, or it's like, that's a bit, you know, or it's too bold or what have you. Anyway, there are 2 young girls behind me, probably like 15, maybe 14, 15. And they're sort of like making fun of me, you know, behind my back. So when it came to prayer, I turned around and said, while they were praying, there's no point. I shared in that there's no point praying, because I mean, what's the point of making fun of someone and the next minute praying? I know that you can repent, but I know that if I was really sorry about offending someone, and because in the Bible it does share about how God hears the prayers of the righteous. So if you're making fun of someone and the next minute you're praying, it's like, hang on a minute, I just told them blank. Straightforward. They were carried on, they had their eyes closed, but I was just saying, you know, why? Because we pray out loud, so it's not as if people can hear what I'm saying. They can, though. They can hear me. And hopefully that made them think, you know. And I know that if I had done that, and then, you know, I was, you know, I had repented, I was sorry, but I would have, afterwards, I would have tapped the person on the shoulder and said, sorry, you know. Yeah, so, you know, maybe they had, but I was just, that's how far I've come. That's the difference between me then and me now, you know. And maybe if I didn't go through all these things that I'm sharing with you now, I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to do it. So it's only because I've had my experience, and I'm not going to let the same things happen again, and I respond to it in the same way I would have when it happened in the first time. Not in the first place, no. No. But anyway, there was no need for me to say, but I was like, it's New Year's Eve, I'm ready and raring to go. You know, we're coming to midnight and this is happening already. And I said that out loud, actually, even before we started prayer, I said it out loud, that you're telling me that it's not even midnight and this is happening already. And then we went into prayer, and then I said that to them. So anyway, I'm not always like that. It's just like, no. Especially, like I say, it's just before midnight, New Year's Day, and it's like, ah. All right, anyway, so the situation she now found herself in made her aware that no matter where she went, this is the conclusion she's come to, no matter where she went, no matter where she goes, the type of behaviour she had run away from would always haunt her. I don't know why I used the word haunt, but that's probably maybe how I felt. But now I would use the word follow her, not haunt. And she tried to analyse the problem, but all she could think was that there was something inherently wrong with her, something she projected from within, which made her look hilarious to others, causing all the talk and laughter. Although disheartened with this present situation, she had no other option than to carry on with her schooling. And I get to that point where I'm sort of thinking, oh, there's something wrong with me. And you know, people can see it, and you know, they're finding it hilarious, that's why they're laughing, and you know. And as I've grown into a woman, the woman that I am now, you do see certain behaviour characteristics of what I'm talking about now. It's not as often, but you do see it. But as not only as women, I think as people, we do need to somehow work with ourselves and try and figure out how can we either not adapt to the situation, but how can we deal with the situation so that we're not letting that situation smother us and make us miserable. And so how can we deal with it? Do you know what I mean? So it took years for me to try and figure this out, try and work things out. And the conclusion for me was, as I grew and got a bit older, was that I just needed to build up my confidence. Not get overconfident so that I'm like this big-headed person who thinks they know it all, and not that. But I really had to sort of like learn to build up my confidence, feel comfortable with myself, even though subconsciously I didn't realise I was doing it at such a young age. At that age I couldn't do it, but what I'm saying is, as I grew into womanhood, you see types of behaviour continuing. And I don't know if I've shared before, it took me to the age of 17 and a half for someone to tell me what the problem was. And what they were saying was, I've shared before, they were saying that when someone sees something in someone, or they can see something about someone, or they've got something, they wish they could have it, or something like that. Basically, to me, what he was saying was, it's this jealousy thing. And I'm like, what are people jealous of? But by then the damage had been done. It helped to know that he told me this, because I've never forgotten it. And it's a mate, and it was a grown man had told me this, and I've never forgotten it. And then it sort of resonates with you, and then as you grow, you start beginning to see little things that are in relation to what he said, which starts to make sense, if you see what I mean. Yeah. And I slowly sort of start understanding and slowly building up a little bit of confidence, but it still took time. I still had to, you still have to go through things to build it up. And even now, I think you still have to sort of keep building yourself up, because as time goes on, different things happen in your life, and they can be great, they can be good, or they could be not so good. And especially as you grow up as a woman as well, you've just really got to sort of learn how to sort of just be appreciative of life and what you have, and so on and so forth, and just learn how to build yourself up, and just learn to be confident. Anyway, I'll be able to share more as I go along, so you can sort of fully understand what I'm saying. But maybe you do, maybe you do. Maybe you've been in a situation like that, or you're in a situation like this now, so maybe you can't fully resonate. But because of what I'm saying, as time goes on, you'll probably maybe might reflect back to what I'm saying and say, okay, I see what she means now. I do. And I'm not saying that when you're in church, and someone's making fun of you, you turn around and you do what I did. Basically, the way that I do it is very subtle. I'm not loud and I'm not rude. And, they were doing that for a while, and it's like, you got to stop. Come on, you got to stop. If no one beside them, which that it must have been either their parent or someone older, isn't going to tell them to stop. Because the church that I go to, when you're praying, everyone's praying. So it's not as if everybody could hear what I was saying, but they could. So the way that I sometimes react, it's bold, but I like to do it in such a way that majority of the time, occasionally, majority of the time, I'm not offending anyone, I'm just saying. And I was basically telling them the truth, though. You know, I was telling them the truth. So it's not as if I was being mean. I just want to come across like that. I wasn't being mean. I was just saying. I'm just stating the fact. What's the point? Doesn't really make sense. And just in case they didn't know, if they did, I'm just reminding you. All right. So yeah. So although she was disheartened with this present situation, she had no other option than to carry on with her schooling. So within time, she got bored with the infantile structure of the school. Many of the lessons were taken in the same class, which meant the teacher would travel from class to class instead of the pupils making, making, it just made school life a little bit monotonous, It made sense, and I think, even in this day and age, it would save a lot of problems in the problems that some schools have when you have to change from class to class, all the loitering in the corridors or what have you, Anyway, throughout classes, she was constantly yawning. I remember I was just bored quietly to myself. You know how some people yawn? It's like this big yawn. The whole world has to know that you're yawning, not the whole world, but maybe like everybody around you, the OTT there. I can't stand those types of yawns. It's like, why do we have to know that you're yawning? And then I was hearing it so often that I remember one time I started doing it. It was like, no, I'm going to have to put a stop to it. I don't like it. So can you imagine what other people around me are thinking? Well, I'm making that noise and I'm yawning. Yeah, so basically she was quietly yawning in her lessons. And where are we now? Yeah. So while keeping an eye on the teacher and trying to listen to every word that was being said, until eventually a boredom turned into an enormous ache within her mind, which by midday would travel to her stomach, giving her pangs of hunger and feeling of emptiness. Towards springtime, she knew something would have to be done about the situation, but what? And can you imagine what? Knowing her history, Rebecca's history. Yeah, so she made a decision to talk to her father again about changing schools. She would take on the responsibility of finding a school, of finding a new school, and her father agreed. So on the evening when she confronted him, she was less nervous than she had been the first time. She asked him about changing schools, and she explained to him now that she was bored with her present school and the system, and asked if she could move to another school, senior school, and be placed back into her original year. Her father agreed to her request without too much questioning, maybe because the school was a private school and they're paying for it each term. So he's probably thinking, I'm just going to go for a state school. That would save us a bit of, maybe. But I know they didn't mind paying that money, otherwise they wouldn't pay it. But maybe that's why he didn't. Now I'm reading it. It's only now I'm reading it now. I'm coming up with these sort of conclusions. Maybe that was the situation. Yes, I looked for a school. I found a state school. And then, her father telephoned the school, made an appointment for an interview. Within a short space of time, Rebecca was accepted in the school. Yeah, she was. So the new term started a week before at her old school. So basically, her old school was still in school. And then, no, I think that her old school was on half term and her new school started school. So what she did was, so basically she's going to the new school, and she didn't tell anyone what she was doing. And her parents allowed her to buy the school uniform, everything, right? And then within 2 days of attendance, already Rebecca knew that she had made a mistake. So she'd gone to the school for 2 days and it was like she didn't like it. She didn't. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's not, but it just goes to show that sometimes we think we know what's best, and it's like for ourselves. And it's not working out here. It's not working out. So anyway, and then she was also put back in her 4th year, in the right year. And then what she felt, it felt as though the pupils they weren't really interested in befriending her. It just felt like that. I know that there was one girl that Rebecca was talking to, but it just didn't feel right. And then the message came across to Rebecca loud and clear was, we've already got our circle of friends, so we don't need you. It sort of felt like that. It didn't feel right. So by the Wednesday of the first week, Rebecca made her mind up to go back to her old school, the convent school, and was pleased that she had not told one of the she had not told. Listen, what I put. She had not told no one. Is that proper English? That's why it needs editing. She had not told anybody of her departure, because otherwise her return would have been very embarrassing. Yeah, so she returned to the convent school the following Monday as if nothing had happened. And as the schoolgirls were queuing up at the door to head for the hall for assembly, the sister said to her, "Nice to see you back." Rebecca could not quite understand why she had chosen to greet her, and only her, in such a way. And then later on, she began to realise it's because the school knew that she had left and gone to that other state school for 2 days. They must have contacted the school or something. Yeah, so she silently carried on within the school regime, and although the school and its atmosphere did not fulfil her hopes and expectations, at this stage she knew she had no other choice than to accept the situation. And she gradually became more relaxed despite her reservations. The mimicking by the girls in the assembly hall and the two small girls who sat beside her in the classroom continued to frustrate her. But she realised that her only option was to accept this type of behaviour or block it out. And it's horrible to be you have to accept this type of behaviour. I mean, why didn't I don't understand why I didn't tell the teacher what these two girls were doing. It didn't cross my mind to do that. It didn't cross my mind to say, oh, by the way, when I go in assembly, you know, the girls in year 4, they're being rude, they're mimicking me, they're making fun of me. I don't understand what all these things could have been sorted out. I don't understand why I didn't say anything. I don't get it, you know, but that was just me. I guess sometimes maybe I wasn't, I don't know, maybe that was how it's supposed to be, me not saying anything and just dealing with it, you know. Yeah, so where are we now? Yeah, so things eventually improved for her. At the end of the school day, Rebecca was inclined to rebel slightly by putting on her thick black cardigan, taking off her grey socks and school tie, and opening up the first 4 buttons of her t-shirt. Whoa! Compared to how the schoolgirls dress now, it's like, pull the skirt down a bit, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, that was her form of rebellion, you know, putting on my black cardigan, you know, opening up a few buttons. Yeah, taking off her grey socks and school tie and opening up the first 4 buttons of her shirt. So this made a positive statement to the other girls in the other class in the same year, who began to take a liking to her. I don't remember that. And include her in their conversations, making the journey more enjoyable. I don't remember that. I really don't. So before long, she would meet up with the same girls at lunchtimes, although on some occasions she would sneak out of the school, being as discreet as she could, by putting on her black cardigan, taking off her socks, and she would then go out for a brisk stroll. I remember that. Yeah, so whenever Rebecca chose to mix with the group at lunchtimes, Lena would wander back into the classroom to be by her lonesome self and read a magazine, leaving Rebecca to indulge in exciting conversations with a new friend, Kim, who seemed to share the same interest. Kim was in the same year, though. She was in the 3rd year, and I befriended her. And then she was interested in dance, and that's the girl that I was going to the dance classes with at the Pineapple Studio. We used to go on Friday nights. It used to be really exciting, knowing at the end of the week that's what we were going to do. Yeah, so on Friday evening, Kim invited Rebecca to her dance class. Rebecca agreed to spectate at first and to familiarise herself with the dance routines before taking part. These visits soon became a regular activity, and a close friendship developed between the two girls as they took the long journey to the dance centre together every Friday, and their enjoyable conversations were filled with happiness and laughter. Yeah, awesome. So once they reached the dance centre, Kim would pay the membership fee and then go downstairs, or not membership fee, probably just for the class. And then go downstairs to the basement where the changing room were situated, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Yeah, so although school life was less wretched, Why did I use that word? For her then, it had been. Rebecca was still unhappy with the school system, but she knew she would have to continue her education within the convent. The only permanent release she felt she was going to get was if she basically got expelled. So she started to become a little bit rebellious. She knew that punctuality was very important, so now she was coming in a little bit late. And she was basically working herself up to the day in which they would ask her to leave. And this is the occasion where the school cleaner reported Rebecca to Mother Superior. The cleaner said that they had seen Rebecca smoke in the toilet, and so a teacher came to the class to get Rebecca. And then they went into a room, and then she said, the cleaner's seen Rebecca smoking. Rebecca explained, no, she doesn't smoke. And then that's when the Mother Superior said that she could actually smell the cigarette on her breath. And I'm like, oh, something's not quite right here, because Rebecca didn't smoke. Yeah, so there you go. And then eventually her mother was called, and she was asked to take her from the school. And that's when the mother said that, that Rebecca was sort of one of the worst pupils that she'd ever met. And the mum, when she got home, the mum said that she knows it's not true, because she knew that she knew Rebecca was a well-behaved child. I know that she was a bit rebellious in the school, but in general she was. And but I think what really upset Rebecca was she could see how her mum was. She was really upset with the fact that, one, she'd been expelled, and two, what the Mother Superior had said, and that's what really hurt Rebecca. But she was pleased that her mother maintained such faith in her, and knew her child. And it says that although she was bruised by the hurt that showed in her mother's eyes. And then, when Mr. Barrack, her dad, came home, he never said anything to her. He didn't confront her on the matter. He didn't. And so the next day, I think it was the next day, he did ask her if, because now basically they're getting towards the school holidays, summer holidays, and he said, would you like to work? We had a hardware store. Would you like to work there until they organised somewhere else for her to go to? And she agreed. So she was earning a little bit of money, and And then eventually her father did find her a school. It's a private school in Sutton. And it was, like I shared, it was a college for 15 to 24-year-olds. But within the school holidays, my parents had a thing about going on holiday twice a year. So there was a time where they went to Poole. We spent 1 week in Wales and 1 week in Poole. Wales was enjoyable and peaceful. The scenery and greenery refreshed Rebecca's mind. I still love it to this day. Scenery and greenery, love it, absolutely do. Relieving any tension she had previously felt. The fresh air gave her great pleasure and a true zest for life. Her surroundings offered her a genuine space of truth, light and understanding. She felt lucky to be alive as she looked up at that unending blue sky that somehow represented love and kind laughter, and seemed to be telling her that happiness and paradise were here on earth for us all, if only we could recognise it. Yeah, and so there was one evening Rebecca went for a walk, and she basically watched the sky's deepening reflection upon the still water on the pond, and she began to daydream as the sort of running rivers building a bond with the human race. This is what I've written: spreading nothing but grace. That's a bit of poetry there. It was this particular moment that gave Rebecca hope for her future, hope for the college she would soon attend, hope for whatever career she might choose, hope for her personal life. It felt as though nothing would go wrong for her as her new life developed. So it's positive. I like the way that she was positive. Although she was going through all these things, it was like, yeah, she's going to have a new start. It's going to be really, really positive. And I like the way that, you know, her parents were taking her, my parents were taking us away for 2 weeks. They knew, they worked hard. They knew they needed a break, and it was really good for the children as well. And I like the places that we used to go to as well. So it just felt like a complete blessing. So although she was facing like some challenges at school, at home, her home life was peaceful. She felt very well looked after, which definitely helped and helped mold her. So I hope that you're enjoying, you know, what I'm sharing about A Sacrifice of a Lifetime. You know, I'm halfway through the book yet now, and I haven't even started typing out because I want to sort of like get this book out, even if it's just the first part. I'm excited about it, and I'm finding it really. I'm really enjoying reading through it, and just like I say, seeing where I am now compared to where I was. You know, it's nice to see the journey, even though at times it was difficult. It felt as though nothing was going to change. It felt, you know, at times it was, you know, Rebecca was not feeling very hopeful. It's nice that she's got to this stage where she is feeling hopeful. So it's just to give everybody out there some encouragement that if you are feeling a certain way because of what's going on in school or college, it's important to talk. If you can find someone to talk to about it, and even a teacher to share. I don't understand why why I didn't talk to a teacher when I was going through certain things, but that definitely would have made a difference. And it's, if you can talk to your parents as well as an older sibling, that can help, because it's a situation. It doesn't have to be something that has to be continual, that, you know, nothing can be done to make change, you know. And I understand that you can be in situations where you can be in a situation in school or what have you, and it can be really, really, really bad, where, you know, you may feel you have to move on to another school. You may feel that you have to do that, but it's only because with Rebecca the same things were happening in the same schools. Obviously, you know, she had to come to a conclusion to figure out what she could do to change the situation. But it is important if you can find someone to talk to. But I do like the way how Rebecca had that childhood, that happy home life, and that she, you know, her parents were able to take her away, and she was able to feel really sort of like just enjoy her surroundings, natural surroundings, and feel that emotion of hope. And so, you know, it's just to encourage you out there that, you know, although things may not be great here, you know, hopefully, you know, I'm encouraging you to see how things can change. And also, what Rebecca did go through, what it's done is it's molded her character, and it's put me in a position today where I can share and hopefully, you know, reflect upon it, and be a positive influence to people who may be going through the same thing, or you might know someone who's going through the same thing, to share, to say that's not your whole life. At the time you think that's your life, nothing's going to change, but no, things do change. Things can change, and then you'll look back and reflect and see. One, it's encouraging to see how far you've come and who you are becoming, and that's probably why people have given you problems, because maybe they could see something in you and they could see something. It's like, how comes I don't, you know, how comes I haven't got that, how comes so on and so forth, you know. Yeah, so it's just to encourage you. But I will continue to share, and next time I'll go more, well, I'll be sharing more about what happens in college, because I shared a little bit about college life last week, because I shared about how Rebecca started having, well, she had a dream, and then she confronted the person in the dream, and the person was surprised that Rebecca knew about it. She's trying to figure out how did she know, and I'll sort of share a little bit more about that. But in the meantime, if you want to follow me on social media, it's on Instagram 1325 Roslyn. No, on Instagram it's Roslyn 1325, Facebook Roslyn Roberts, X at author_RR Roberts, and then YouTube Welcome Roslyn Roberts, and of course my podcast Sac Taff. If you can subscribe, even better, and maybe do a few likes and some comments. It'd be good to hear, you know, what you think about what I'm reading. Can you relate to what I'm sharing? It would really be good to know. But in the meantime, take care. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.